All right, so let's give this a shot. So about 2 weeks ago, when we first all went into semi-quarantine due to the coronavirus, my wife, Debbie, launched a Facebook group called Sudbury, Mass. Recipes. And the first recipe she posted was for cheese grits. And she got a lot of comments and a lot of questions on it. But the most common question was,
what is a grit anyways?
It's made out of corn. Them hominy grits.
Hominy?
So the next question that we often get is, well, where can I get grits and what kind of grits do I buy? The answer to that is simple.
Instant grits?
No self-respecting Southerner uses instant grits. I take pride in my grits.
Now, unfortunately, in these uncertain times, there are apparently at least two things that everybody is wanting to buy. One of them is clearly, for some odd reason, toilet paper, and the other one is apparently old-fashioned grits. So what is already in short supply up in New England is now an even shorter supply. And so I had to, unfortunately, get instant grits. I'm hoping that the Lord forgives me for using instant grits. So ideally you go with old-fashioned grits. I'm gonna have to call a curveball and go with instant grits. The recipe I'll be using is modified, as are a lot of my recipes, from the famous Auburn Entertains cookbook. Modified based on experience and from what my mama taught me. A lot of people will vary the recipe. Some will use milk instead of water. Some will combine cheddar cheese with Parmesan cheese. Some add butter, some don't. I'm keeping it simple. I use water and not milk in my grits. I don't like anything sweet in it. I just use cheddar cheese and not Parmesan cheese. And people use a different number of eggs, but this one seems to work. The kids like it, and in my book, that's a victory. So that's what I'm going with today. So the only three ingredients, not counting water and salt and pepper, that you need for your grits are the aforementioned, sadly, instant grits, some cheddar cheese, and 3 eggs. All right, so once your water is boiling, basically you want to pour in your grits. Keep stirring as you're pouring them in because you don't want them to get clumpy. And this recipe is about 1.5 cups of grits for 6 cups of water. Get it nice and stirred, and then turn down the heat. You don't want it boiling. You don't want it splattering everywhere. You just want it bubbling slowly. Put a top on it. So the key to cooking grits is you do want to stir it at least once a minute, if not a little more frequently, until the water pretty much gets soaked into the grits. You don't have to stir it as often as you'd stir risotto because you're not trying to work any gluten out of it or anything. But you do stir it about as much as, let's say, normal rice. But when it starts to get thick and all the water has essentially been absorbed, your grits are ready. Sadly, as I mentioned, these are 5-minute grits and not old-fashioned, so these did not take long. Okay, while it is still hot, you want to take it off the burner. Go ahead and put a couple of pats of butter in it. And a heap of cheese. Recipes call for anything from 1 cup to 2 cups. I go with a heapa. That's his official measurement. While it's hot, just add the cheese and just stir it till the cheese is incorporated and melted. So one handful at a time. All right, so this is the most important step. You've got to add your eggs to the grits, but if you add the eggs to the grits that are hot, it gets all funky and you'll kind of end up with like a redneck version of egg drop soup because the eggs will just immediately cook. So you can either wait for it to cool Or the trick is take a little bit of the egg and slowly beat it into, sorry, a little bit of the grits and beat it into the egg so it sort of stabilizes the temperature. It brings the egg temperature up higher, but not to the point of cooking, and cools down the grits a little bit, just like so. All right, so my daughter, who's fancier cook than I am, says that's called tempering the eggs. So now that I have tempered my eggs, I just pour them into the grits and stir it. All right, now that you have poured the grits into an oven-safe dish, stick it in the oven uncovered at 350 for about at least 40 minutes. All right, so it's been about 45 minutes. Nice and solid, brown on top. You can let it cool for a few minutes. It's gonna stick a little bit on the side, but what you wanna do is break that crusty top, mix it in, and then that's what it looks like when it's done. And there you've got cheese grits, roasted broccoli, and sirloin with a red wine reduction sauce. So you can dress up your cheese grits as much as you want. It's okay if it's goofy. All right, so it looks like they like it, but the ultimate test is, hey kids, what is your favorite thing that I make?
Cheese grits.
All right, there you have it.
When I was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. He wasn't much to look at, just a free rambling man. But that was a long time, and no matter how I tried, the years just flow by like a broken down dam.